Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. All right, just getting myself a bit organised today. Have a wiggly cushion. Good morning. Welcome. As always, if you are there behind the screen, please do pop a hello in the comments so that I can do my very best and be very polite and answer you and welcome you. Welcome to Friday morning. Good morning, Jay. Good morning, Maria. My glasses need cleaning. I can barely see the screen this morning. It's shocking, I know. Let me get the groups up on my phone so that I can see the names, because sometimes they don't come up. Let's pop that there. Ooh. Good morning, Jenny. Good morning, Sue. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Susie. Good morning, Diane. Bonjour, Sylvie. Good morning, Lani. Good morning, Erin. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Denise. Wow, lots of lovely people. Welcome. I am honoured that you choose to join me on your Friday morning. Good morning, Christine. Good morning, Beck. Good morning, Sue. Yes, Pete working hard downstairs and Eric probably sunning himself in the garden at the moment, would be my guess. Good morning to everyone. And that's the neighbours' dogs in the garden outside. I've got the window open today, so we're going to get all sorts of dogs barking and seagulls squawking. We'll have a bit of nature in the background this morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I am back from a few days away to the very lovely. See, it's been a long week. From the very lovely Cambridge university town with some amazing architecture and the most amount of gargoyles I've ever seen, which was fabulous. Good morning, Nettie. Good morning, Jackie. Good morning. So I've got a bit of a food hangover because I think we ate everything that Cambridge had to offer. So salad today. So good morning, everyone. I have actually, the subject today is something that's been prompted. I've had quite a few messages from people in the last few weeks struggling with depression. So that kind of prompted today's little chat. Good morning, Rachel. Maria, one of my sisters used to live there. It is a very beautiful town, very beautiful. Lots of nice cafes and a Harry Potter shop, which was quite fun to find as well. And punting, of course, down the river. But yes, so today's talk is about depression, and it's taken from my Curative Magic book. It's not an easy subject to tackle, and I'm not going to profess to be any kind of professional, but I am going to tackle it from the magical point of view and see if we can help. Sue said, Oxford is nice too. Yes, we love Oxford, Sue. We hadn't been to Cambridge before. We have done Oxford, so we thought we'd give Cambridge a try. I have to be honest, Bath is our favourite city. We've been there on more than one occasion, and that's our favourite city. Good morning, Kerry, but it was very nice to get away for a couple of days. Me and the husband, no kids, no dogs. It was very, very, very nice for our wedding anniversary. So there you go. So let's have a look at depression. As I say, I am not a professional medical professional, or I am a herbalist, but that's neither here nor there. But I have experience with depression. And I know it's probably a bit difficult to think, oh, no, she's always laughing. She's always happy. How on earth? Yeah, no, been there, done that. I wouldn't write about any subject that I hadn't actually experienced myself. So you will find a whole chapter on depression in the Curative Magic book, along with other things such as stress and anxiety, all the jollies that go together. So we'll have a look at depression today. If you've got any insights, thoughts, anything that's helped you with it, do please pop them in the comments and we will share them. because it's good to share. Jane met Bamber Gascoigne, gosh, there's a name from the past, in Cambridge, trying to pass us with his film crew on a very narrow spiral staircase. Yeah, that sounds about right. In Cambridge, it was all very old buildings. Good morning, Xenia. I look fab. Oh, thank you. It's very warm here today. We've actually got a summer's day here today, so it's all in the name of keeping cool, but thank you very much. Jane says, depressed people have two faces, indeed. One for outside the front door and one for inside. They do, indeed. So I'm going to start because there's lots to cover today. And you know me, we'll end up talking about all sorts of stuff, which is brilliant. Do please pop your comments in. I'm going to be quite funky today and try and do this because I know there's comments coming from different places today. There is a lot of depression. Yet again, we don't know what's going on. Wear mask, don't wear mask. Some clear rules would help. I think it's been handed back to us basically, and we've got to be sensible human beings. That seems to be a struggle for some people, but just do what makes you comfortable, I think, is the answer to that one. Definitely. This one is Jenny. Just because you look happy doesn't mean you are. Robin Williams, Chester Bennington are but two examples of this. May they rest well wherever they are. Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, it's funny, isn't it? I think you find with a lot of the famous comedians, they do have a darker side to them, whether it is the balance, the playoff. I don't know. Don't know. But let's do a little disclaimer first, because we're dealing with mental health issues here. If you have ailments or mental health issues, get them diagnosed by a medical professional. If it is advised, work out a course of medication. I do not advocate self-diagnosis. Always seek professional advice. Never self-medicate, even with herbal remedies. Herbal remedies can be extremely potent. Some are toxic. Others can react with prescription or over-the-counter medications in adverse ways. Please do not ingest any herbs if you aren't sure you have identified them correctly. Really don't do it. And if you are on medication or have underlying health issues, please don't ingest any herbal remedies without first consulting a qualified practitioner. So there's the disclaimer stuff. It's sensible stuff. You aren't silly. I just, have to go with it. That one is Christine. We found our inner child to try and cope with all the strange times at the moment. So lots of silliness. Absolutely. I think we should have lots of silliness anyway. I think it should be required. It should be the law. Lots of silliness. Good morning, Sabrina. Jane says, depression can be treated, but it's always lurking there. Absolutely. I treat it like a sidecar. As long as it stays parallel with me and doesn't close in, I get along. Just keep visualizing those two iron bars that keep it at bay. Excellent analogy. Excellent analogy, Jane. Absolutely. I think the first step is recognizing, acknowledging, and accepting it. I experienced my first bout when I was in my mid-20s. I have a bowel disease. You've heard me talk about it before, I'm sure, but I was on a huge amount of very strong steroids at the time. One of the lovely, delightful side effects of the steroids is mood swings, depression, anxiety, all of the lovely stuff. And that was the first time that I'd actually experienced it. When I recognized what it was in the doctor's surgery, bursting into floods of tears, he realized what it was. I was actually put on to antidepressants. And that was the first time. The second time was even more horrendous. I had postnatal depression after the birth of our first child. And it was horrendous, to say the least. Never, ever want to go back there. Thank you very much. But again, we didn't know what it was at first, didn't pick up the signs, didn't recognize it. It was only when it had got to kind of breaking point that we realized what it was. Again, back on antidepressants. And I had it again more recently with the perimenopause. But we recognized it. We recognized what it was. We recognized the signs. I thought it was just something you had to deal with the perimenopause was the mood swings. But again, got to that point, went to the doctor, got put back on antidepressants. I think antidepressants are good. I think they are good from the point of view of kickstarting you back into normality. For me, it feels like I'm underwater the whole time. But I guess that's what they do. They suppress everything. So whilst I didn't like the feeling of being underwater the whole time, it did bring me back onto a level path and start to deal with things. And over the period of time, my hormones have started to settle down too. Not gone completely. I'm off them now. I was on them for a year. Now I'm just dealing day to day with the perimenopause hormones. But I think the first step is recognizing it, acknowledging that it's happening, and accepting that you need some help with it. That's how I see it anyway. Good morning, Kerry. Good morning, Martina. Good morning, Dawn. Good morning, Karina from Alaska. Excellent. Welcome, welcome. Jane had mild postnatal depression after my second child. My GP told me to eat onions. There must be other ways of getting B6. I'm on B6 supplements at the moment. I'm on B12 and B6 supplements because of the perimenopause. That is, they are two of the vitamins that to deplete or disappear from your body when you're in perimenopause. Here's Christine. When I first had my first child, I had bad depression, but we had a male nurse next door, but one to us. Oh, excellent. That's handy. It was a great help and very dishy. Well, that's always a bonus. Always a bonus to have a nice bit of eye candy. But I think it is. One of the first steps is taking control, to recognize the character traits that are causing the issues or the cycles you've gotten caught up in. Without recognizing them, it's really difficult to move forward. Some of them are there for good. Others can be tweaked a little, and a few can be removed completely. You are who you are. DNA influences you had growing up, all of that stuff. So there are some people more susceptible to it than others. My husband is cheerful at 5 a.m. in the morning and still cheerful at midnight. So there are some people that are never going to have to deal with it. There are others that are more susceptible to it, and health issues play a big part in it as well. I believe if you've got a serious health issue, it's bound to bring you down. I've had my bowel disease since I was 16, and it's, good times, bad times, sometimes in remission, sometimes not. That really does play a big part in it. And as I say, perimenopause has been a kick in the butt for me as well. So there are outside forces, but I think there are some people that are more susceptible than others. Each of us is an individual. We're all motivated by different things. I would highly recommend that you don't make yourself ill by doing what you think you ought to be doing, rather than saying no for the benefit of your mental and emotional health. You know how you are, you know how you work. We are all different. What works for some doesn't work for others, and vice versa. The world is full of people. Some are good, others not so much. So you'll meet a few difficult people on the way. They all have their own story. Remember that their story is theirs and not yours. So everyone will come at it from a different angle, and everyone will deal with it from different angles as well. Good morning, Melody. Jane says, I think perimenopausal depression is like a later version of the midlife crisis. It's hard to let go of the childbearing phase, even if we know we couldn't cope with babies at our age. Jane, I would have had it all removed in the blink of an eye. I was quite happy to let it go. I would have paid to have it all taken out. Unfortunately, my insides, my womb and everything's all still healthy. So they wouldn't take it away. I was ready to be gone with it all. But yes, I kind of get what you're saying. It is a new phase in life, isn't it? It's a transition. That's a whole other thing, though. The perimenopause is a whole other thing. There is a bit about that in the book as well, and rituals to deal with changes and transitions as well. It's about acceptance, I think, with the menopause. Maria says, sometimes GPs can mistake depression symptoms to a depletion of vitamins through the menopause. I think they go a bit hand in hand, don't they? Because particularly with the B vitamins, isn't it? That can cause depression, and it does come hand in hand with the menopause. So absolutely. Xenia says, I experienced depression many years ago for multiple months. That was caused by a medication I took. Yeah, the steroids caused my first lot. It had depression as a side effect. There I saw the difference between clinical depression and just feeling sad. I think this is it as well, isn't it? It's about recognizing that you're just having a bad day or a bad few days and actual depression. There is a difference. There is a difference. Jane says, my previous GP gave me antidepressants because that was my history, but it turned out I was diabetic. Oh, well, you've got to find a good GP as well, haven't you? Definitely. Good morning, Joe. Good morning, Jackie. Sue says, same here, never wanted or had children. That's absolutely your right to choose, Sue. Maria says, I had no idea about the B vitamins. I'm learning more. I know B vitamins because my lovely daughter Emma, who's only 20, was really, really poorly. Mood swings like you wouldn't believe. I know she won't mind me telling you this. Hello, world. I'm telling you all about Emma. She really, really suffered and really struggled. And we got her to the doctor in the end. And she was deficient in B12, completely deficient. Her body doesn't produce it. She has to go to the doctors every 6 weeks and have a shot of B12. And it's like magic fairy dust. It's like waving a magic wand. No one should be dealing with those kind of mood swings at her age. And it's like magic. So that was one of the things that made me kind of think, oh, these B vitamins are quite important. So B12, they quite often give shots to menopausal women as well, because it's an energy booster. But in my research as well, B6 is another one that's very good for menopausal women, because that does affect your mood swings. So yeah, the B vitamins are quite important. Good morning, Teresa. Jackie says, my sister's deficient in B12 and now struggles with bipolar. This B12 thing is quite a big, it's worth researching. If you are struggling with depression, do talk to your doctor about it, because I think it is quite an important one. But there we go. So once you've worked out, I think it is about working out what it is that's causing it, what it is that's prompting it. Xenia says, I'm also B12 deficient, got tablets for it now. Good. Hopefully they work, Xenia. But I think that's it, about narrowing it, pinpointing it down. My first bout was due to the steroids I was taking. My second bout was postnatal depression. My third bout was perimenopause. There was an underlying cause for each time that it happened. Let me find out who that is. That's the lovely Nettie. Nettie always has fantastic hair and makeup. Nettie says, my dog died after a long illness on the 4th of May. Since this, I've been struggling. Oh, big hugs to you, my lovely. I feel overwhelmingly sad and no energy. Also don't sleep well, which doesn't help. Underlying cause again. I absolutely understand that. Family pet is like a member of the family, isn't it? It's that. I absolutely, big hugs to you, my lovely. Karen's had B12 injection for 20 years. Jane says, my poor mum turned into an animal when her B12 ran out after surgery. No one picked up on it, and it takes 2 years to deplete. A couple of injections and she was a new woman. Absolutely. It is magic stuff. And I think it is, from what I've been hearing, from what I've been seeing with my experience myself and my experience with my daughter, it's a real key one, a real key one. Hi, Jackie. This is Jackie, the good GP. Once one said to my husband, oh, you don't strike me as the type of person that needs to take antidepressants. Yes. Some doctors can be dismissive. There are going to be, hats off to the NHS, the doctors and the nurses. I wouldn't want the job for any amount of money. I think you guys do an amazing job. But as in any profession, you're going to get good ones, you're going to get bad ones. You're also going to get those that are really, really overworked. So I think it is about pressing the point yourself, keeping on at it if you don't get the right answer or the right response that you want the first time. Finding a good doctor is a key thing. definitely. So, hi, Lani. Lani says, I was diagnosed with depression after I had my second child, Amy. Bless Amy. She is the most beautiful little girl. But yes, she does. The complications I had with her during the labour had a huge impact on my mentally, emotionally and physically. Still have struggles now, but I've learned to cope. But no, it's not easy. That's interesting you say that. I do know Lani and her beautiful children. I had a very complicated birth with my first child, Emma. Emergency C-section and all sorts. I think that has an impact as well. That it was such a well, actually, if Emma and I hadn't have been in the hospital, if we'd have been at home, we would have both died. Thankfully, we were in hospital and emergency stuff was done very quickly. But I think that probably has an effect as well, particularly on the postnatal side of it, because you carry that with you, and that's definitely an underlying cause. Absolutely. Jane says, if you can identify an underlying cause for depression, you're halfway to fixing it. It's when it's coming from inside your head, it's much harder to sort. Yes, absolutely. And I think that is key to finding the underlying cause for it. Gives you a starting point. It helps you to begin to understand what's happening and why it's happening. Joe says, work colleague gets SAD, the seasonal affective disorder, and takes vitamin D. Yeah, I see the vitamins playing a big part here, definitely playing a big part. Vitamin D is the one we get from sunshine, isn't it? So that makes absolute sense. Good morning, Kay. Good morning, Willow Moon says, I've been taking medication for 10 years when agoraphobia and anxiety took over. They helped me to be myself and I would never be without them. They are a part of me. I am really pleased that you found the key to it, Willow Moon, and that is really, really important. If you have to I think this is for me as well. When they first gave me antidepressants the first time, I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed, perhaps. I'm going back 25 years now, something like that. Yeah, must be. And it perhaps wasn't such a thing then. People do talk about it a little bit more now. But I didn't want to tell anybody because I was embarrassed that I had to take antidepressants. It had a bit of a stigma to it. But I think absolutely, if you find something that works for you, some medication that works for you, go for it. If it works, then it is magic. Good morning, Susie. Joe says trauma of some kind can be a big factor. Absolutely. And I think I say that from the if you have a bad experience with birth, the postnatal depression kind of makes sense, really. And I think I think you have to remember as well that stuff happens. It just does. You know, the universe likes to throw stuff at us from time to time, but you can't be expected to deal with everything all at once. And even if you're familiar with it, sometimes issues slip through the net. But once you catch it, you can deal with it. But I think you've hit it there. Good morning, Leslie. I think you've hit it there. It's the underlying causes. It's working out what's kicking it into action. And that goes for anything: stress, grief, anxiety, and all the other band members, depression included. There are situations that trigger us into letting our emotions take over. It might be obvious what the cause is, such as a death in the family, a miscarriage, loss of job, busy schedule at work, all of those things. Sometimes it isn't as obvious, and those causes might take a little bit of research to uncover. I think some issues, such as depression, can be really deeply rooted. They might even go back to your childhood. So I think that's where perhaps shadow work comes into play. If you are familiar with shadow work, quite a powerful process. Takes a while though. Xenia says, I'm glad that there is more and more mental health awareness now, absolutely, and more celebrities talk about their depression, so people with depression don't feel ashamed anymore. Absolutely. And I think it is really, really important to get it out there because, as I say, the first time I had to take antidepressants, I was embarrassed, really embarrassed. But yes, it's good. Let's have a look. Sorry, who that is. That's Kay. I've only been on here for seconds and recognise that you really don't know what's going on in people's lives sometimes. Yeah, just by these comments alone, you can tell this. You never know what goes on behind closed doors. Absolutely. Never, never. You can't walk in people's shoes, can you? This one is Christine. Feel so blessed as I never really suffered with depression during menopause. Hearing some of the things that happen to some people, I feel so lucky. I had no bad side effects, but I saw a herbalist in America and she helped me by telling me not to fight it and to just go with the flow. I think a big part of the menopause, I've tried to do that. I really have. And that is covered in the Curative Magic book. I've written a spell for it. I've written a ritual to accept the menopause and to go with it and understand that it is just a transition into a new phase of life. But when you're dealing with the mood swing side of it, and you wake up each morning and you don't know who you are, or you don't know whether you are going to be crying all day or shouting all day or completely disconnected from every single emotion, it is scary as hell and incredibly difficult to deal with. But yes, you are very blessed, Christine. That's because you're a very lovely lady. And I'm pleased that you didn't have to deal with it. Jane says, sad is horrible. I developed clinical depression in 1968. Jane, that was the year I was born. It was the year Harold Wilson's government decided not to put the clocks forward for summer, and we had a lousy summer in the southeast, coupled with shorter days. I had a total breakdown in the autumn, first of several, and been a bit unhinged ever since. Nothing wrong with being unhinged, lovely. We're all a bit unhinged. But I hope that you are dealing with it because you've got a label for it. I think that's part of it as well, isn't it? Actually, the relief of finding out what it is. And then you can deal with it. So hopefully you are dealing with it. This one is Jackie again. There's still a lot of stigma attached to mental illness, and there are more people suffering now, particularly after the past year. Yes, the lockdown has been a real stress, hasn't it? That's been a real key for a lot of people. Absolutely. Maria says, I'd like to take something natural for anxiety rather than what the GP might give. I'm kind of in two camps about that, Maria, because when I first realised I was in perimenopause, I tried all of the herbal remedies. I went through the whole lot. Nothing had any effect. I went through the herbal ones because I didn't want to take anything from the doctor. I went through all the herbal ones because I thought that the perimenopause was natural and I just had to live with it. But when it got to the point where I was literally a complete mental breakdown mess and went to the doctor, the relief of actually taking those antidepressants was huge. So whilst I do absolutely agree with you that if there is something herbal, there's something natural that can help, it is brilliant. Don't discount medication from the doctor. It is literally what saved me from the loony bin. Absolutely. Good morning, Mitch. Tattoos are looking on point. Thank you. Let's pop this up here. Suffered with depression on and off for a long time. It can be a roller coaster. That's a really good description, Mitch, isn't it? That's how I describe particularly the menopause depression that I'm still dealing with. It is. You have days when you're up here, you have days when you're down here, and you never know when it's going to be an upwards or a downwards or a peak or a trough. Absolutely. That is absolutely it. Good morning, Tony. This one is John. Good morning, John. Not a sufferer myself, but on a learning curve, as the women in my life are all on antidepressants for one thing or another. It was hard for me to understand what was going on, but I hope I'm more understanding and caring now. That's actually a really good point, John. I would not have got through this without my husband. He's amazing anyway. My mum says every home should have a Pete. But I think it was probably really hard for him to understand what I was going through, particularly with this whole menopause thing, to not know how I was going to be each day. So we actually got into the practice of, first thing, talking. We talk anyway. Communication is a big part of it, how our relationship works. But we got into the habit of, he would say, okay, so what are we dealing with today? And I would burst into tears or say, look, I'm really grumpy today. Or just me trying to explain to him how I felt in the morning that day. would hopefully help him cope with me for the rest of the day. And we'd know, we sort of got into a routine of working out how he would deal with me each day. And I think that's key. If the person or people in your lives that care for you don't understand what you're going through, they're not going to be able to deal with it. If you can actually communicate and explaining how you feel when you feel completely disconnected from the whole world is very difficult. But if you can keep that communication, those communication lines open, it really, really helps. We will get to some magic in a minute, but I'm hoping this is helping people. Leslie had 4 years of high stress situation, thought I was handling it. At the end, I was left with depression and persistent dizziness. That's an interesting one. I've had that with the menopause too, the dizziness. Had it for 3 years now and do really get down about it some days, as it's changed my life completely, and do need to find some sort of coping mechanism. I think this is it as well, isn't it? You're riding high, you're going through all this stuff, you think you're dealing with it until you crash. And I think that's important to recognize the signs before you hit that crash. Again, do seek medical professional help. If you don't want to see a doctor, do seek a professional herbalist, because they will be able to help you. Jane has a good suggestion. Writing it down in a journal. Yes, my book of shadows contains all the usual witch stuff, but it's also got chunks of my life story in it, warts and all. Journaling really does help to work through things. It is one of the suggestions I make in the book, to write stuff down. It not only would help you, but if you've got a close partner, you could also show them and they'll be able to see what's actually going through your head as well. This is Kay. People can say, just man up. Yep, heard that one. But when you're in a dark place, you cannot get up anywhere. Yes, but I think you've hit it there. People can be cruel, but I think it's lack of understanding. It is lack of understanding, because not everybody is susceptible to these kinds of emotions. And they just don't understand. They don't understand. Yes, Nina says, a big shout out to all the Johns and Petes of our world who work so hard to support us. Absolutely, absolutely. Kay has a Pete too. Excellent. Yeah, the world needs more Petes. Susie says, menopause was mental health for me. Oh, I hear you. I hear you. I'm still climbing out of it. It really took me by surprise too, as I wasn't aware that it was a thing. Yeah, I'm now post-menopause and feel more settled, but still have bad days. It's great that some workplaces are starting to take menopause more seriously, but there's still a long way to go. Absolutely, Susie. I'm 6 years into the perimenopause now. I haven't even reached the menopause yet. I am hopefully climbing out the other side of the whole hormone mood swing issue. But yeah, I still have bad days. It's horrendous. I cannot even begin to explain how horrendous it was, and still is on some days. But we will get there. Yes, I think it's about putting it out there too, isn't it? Willow Moon says, your doctor will always help you reduce your medication if you want to try complementary treatments. Yes, don't put yourself through undue agony, slowly and controlled. That's also the other thing, isn't it? The medications that they give for antidepressants are usually quite strong. To just cut them off completely just does your head in. So if you are, yes, very wise advice, Willow Moon. If you want to look at something else, do talk with your doctor about it. Maria says, sadly, mine won't. I'm guessing you mean your doctor, Maria. Talk to another doctor. I've actually just changed doctors' practices. I've changed doctor's surgeries because I was getting so frustrated with waiting weeks and weeks to actually speak to a doctor that I changed surgeries. Within a week, I'd not only spoken to a doctor, got medication, but also got a hospital referral. So change doctors, definitely. Disconnected is a good description, says Jane. That's how I felt after my first breakdown. I felt like I was watching my life, not living it. Absolutely. Took about 14 years for me to recognize it and start fixing it with affirmation therapy. Eventually, my road forked back into life's road and it was job done. I did some days and still do. Felt completely disconnected, not just from life, but from every person, from every emotion, like I was some kind of automaton. That's a good word. Definitely. Who have we got there? Good morning, Trisha. That's an interesting one, Mitch. Have you noticed that spiritual people tend to struggle more with mental health than those less open to energy work? Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Absolutely. I have. Whether it is perhaps that spiritual people, or perhaps people that are on that, who are open to it all, are drawn to the more occult and spiritual pathways, I don't know. But yes, I have noticed that spiritual people do tend to struggle more with it. But the plus side of that is that we do have the tools to deal with it. We have far more available to us to deal with it than the average person. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. Kay says there are some understanding doctors. There are. You've just got to find. Oh, bless your heart, John. Tears were the hardest thing for me to help with or understand. Tracy used to hide in the bedroom crying in silence. Yep, been there, done that. I think it is, and that is about not knowing where we are, who we are, or how to even deal with it. Frustration is a really, really big part of it. Give her a big hug, John. Big hugs solve lots of things. This one is Jackie. As a retired medical herbalist, I would just say about natural remedies. Herbs can work, but you need to see a qualified herbalist who has had orthodox medical training and understands how pharmaceuticals might interact. Yes, absolutely. And you would be prescribed professional strength herbal medicines, perhaps a nutritional loan if needed, and you would be managed. Medical herbalists can work alongside your drug regime or with or if not out. Yes, it is a journey and it's a responsibility for both parties. Yes, absolutely. That is brilliant advice, Jackie. Absolutely brilliant. That I always suggest you've got to see someone that knows what they're talking about, because herbal remedies are strong. A lot of medicines we get from the doctor are based on herbal remedies. So yes, definitely. Xenia says, it's a symptom of clinical depression that one isn't able to man up. It's a difference to just being sad, where a positive attitude helps. Yes, just being told, oh, smile, cheer up. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. With clinical depression, the brain does different things, and just being positive sometimes can't fix it. Well, rarely fixes it. People being told otherwise might feel insufficient when they're told to just be positive. It doesn't work, does it? But I think that's, people are trying to help perhaps and don't know how to help. Nutritional plan, says Jackie, that's right. Who we got here? Let's have a look. That's Kay. There are some doctors that would tell you menopause can be a long journey and it's surprisingly not over. Don't listen to statistics, listen to your body, if that makes sense. Well, I say I'm into 6 years now, Kay. So if that's not a long journey, I don't know what is. But everyone is different, and not everyone is going to go through those symptoms. I didn't have the night sweats, touch wood. I just had all the hormonal problems as well. So everyone is different. So you are going to have different experiences. You are going to have different symptoms. Jane says, there's so much more going on in our heads when we're spiritual. Yes, that's what it is, isn't it? Our brains are trying to deal with more. This is Kay. I think guilt or unworthiness is part of the problem. I think that is, if when you are suffering from depression, because it is got that bit of stigma to it. Yeah, you do. Absolutely. Leslie, yes, I'm very empathic and I tend to pick up on everyone else's mood. I think most of us spiritual people are, aren't we? And we pick up on that. But I think we are, we're open to more things, aren't we? Right, let's have a look. Shadow work, I would advise, but don't do it on your own. Don't do it if you're not experiencing witchcraft, but it can help you find the source to things. And I think releasing is a big part of it. We do have to let go of things. When we hang on to negative emotions, thoughts and issues, it can be damaging. It can sit there festering and be, if left unresolved, it can completely. So we've got to learn to release and let things go. But I think you start with the everyday stuff. As I say, I think the first point of call is recognizing recognizing what's happening. If you can realize what the source is, then that's even better, because you know what's caused it and you can then help deal with it. But once you've recognized that, once you've acknowledged that it's happening, then you can start to deal with it. And I have some ideas here. Let's have a look at these comments. Lani had a hysterectomy about 5 years ago because of the issues with the birth of Amy. It was a huge change and took a while for me to get over. As I understand it, if you have a hysterectomy, it forces the menopause, doesn't it? It kind of switches it. I have to say I'd like to get rid of all of mine right now, but yes. But again, that's a big thing, isn't it? It's a big operation for a start. So yeah, absolutely. The dog's outside. That's not Eric. That's Nettie says, oh, Nettie's 8 years into the menopause. Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it? Christine says, I cannot believe how lucky I was. Like, I just pressed the off switch and it was done. Christine, absolutely lucky, blessed, whatever it is. Be thankful. Yes, I'm pleased that you didn't have to go through it. This is Jackie. When I trained in London at the end of the 90s, we did a lot of integrated practice. But what I have found before I close my practice, that it depends on the area and the doctor as to whether they value our knowledge and want to integrate. Yes, you've got to find someone that understands the holistic side of it, isn't it? I've dealt with my bowel disease with a lot of holistic therapies, reflexology in particular. And it has also helped the menopause side of it. Definitely. Christine, that's Christine. I know my mum suffered really bad with night sweats, heavy, and depression, so I was expecting the same. Sending everyone going through this a big hug. Bless you, my lovely. Yes, everyone is different. What you experience isn't going to be the same as others. And if you've managed to escape it, absolutely fantastic. Jane says, not letting go is a bit like spiritual gangrene. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Good description. Willow Moon, mental health issues do not mean you are weak. No, I have been told by medical staff that I have taken bad news in a very positive way, not fallen apart. When you live with mental health, you learn to be a warrior. Yes, we all need to embrace our warrior spirit for sure. Yes, I think that's quite important, actually, isn't it? Because again, when it first hit me, I thought, I'm a strong, independent woman. Why is this happening to me? I must be weak. You're not. It just happens. Leslie says, maybe we could do a healing ritual. Oh, that's a fantastic idea, Leslie. Leave it with me. I'll come up with something. Let's just, so I'm just clicking techie stuff today. This is Kay. Kay's aromatherapist holistic. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's better now, but my circles in the essential oils world have a doctor's panel, have built a clinic. Yeah, I think doctors are starting to realize, aren't they, that the herbal side of things, the holistic side of things works. But it's going to take time. It is taking time for them to realize that, but it is beginning to happen. So we need to keep pushing for it. Maria says, I'm post, but feel worse now than I did before, but not sure if it's current situations. Yes, I think this last year and a half has put an awful lot of pressure on people, hasn't it? An awful lot of pressure. But I know you have got a rubbish doctor, I know, Maria, but I would suggest finding a qualified herbalist or another professional that can help you. Don't struggle. Please don't struggle. Jane says, I think just having a desire to be a witch means we want to take on the world. Piece by piece, piece by piece. So I have some everyday stuff, and I think that's where we need to start. See, we've talked for 3/4 of an hour. We haven't even got to any magical stuff yet. So let's have a look. I think starting with the practical everyday stuff helps. So I want to cover some mundane option first. Sometimes it can be caused by taking on too much. I do that myself. a hectic workload. So planning is good. Planning always helps me get things sorted in my head. I do have a really fab 1980s file of facts. It all goes in there. It all gets listed out. For me, that helps because then I can plot things out. But practical changes are a good place to start. Make time for yourself. However busy your week is, make sure there is a small amount of time, because I understand working wife, working mother, working this, working that, got to do this, got to do that. Sometimes it's very difficult to get time for yourself, even if it's just 10 minutes every day to sit and have a quiet cup of tea. Set aside time for it. It starts with self-care, I think. Get outside if you can. Us nature-loving people, just stepping outside into your garden. My garden, particularly in this last year and a half, has been my sanctuary. Set aside something like movie time, if that's what makes you happy, or reading a book. That's my preference. Set aside some time just to, at least once a week. I know it's difficult if you've got a house full of people, but if you can sit and watch your favorite movie with a cup of tea or a glass of wine, or read a book, just a bit of peace and quiet to yourself, it really helps. If you are in a relationship, don't forget date nights. My husband and I have been together 29 years. We still go on dates. It is, we think, really, really important. Making time for each other is seriously important. And if you are creative, or in fact, even if you aren't, knit, crochet, sew, paint, write, make some time to do craft things, to do creative things that you enjoy. Listen to music as well. I think music in itself can be so uplifting. There will be favorite songs that you've got, or favorite genres, songs that really lift your spirits whenever you hear them. For me, it's the 80s pop, bit of Yaz. The only way is up, and I'm on the dance floor. So definitely do things and make time for things, even if it's a small amount of time, just to do something for you. Definitely. I'm just catching up on the comments. Kay says, funny thing about these doctors now using oils is the wives encouraged them first to use them and they became converted. That most of the doctors I've seen have been female. They may have had wives, I don't know, but yes. Willow Moon says you should set aside 10 minutes a day to yourself. Absolutely. If you're too busy to do that, set aside 20 minutes. Definitely. Yes. Prioritize yourself. Yes. Even if it's just getting up 10 minutes early so that you can have a quiet cup of tea before the household gets up. Definitely. Jackie says, National Institute of Medical Herbalists, thank you, is a good place to start looking for qualified practitioners. Association of Master Herbalists UK also. Brilliant. Thank you for that, Jackie. Jane says, sock knitting time. If that makes you happy, Jane, and I know it does, go for it. Definitely. Just going down to, this is Kay. People should get at least 50 minutes a day to help prevent the condition. Yeah, first thing I do in the morning is step outside into the garden. That's my connect with the energy of the day, connect with Mother Earth, let the dog out for a wee, have a quick wander around the garden. In fact, my husband and I now are both working from home and have been for the last year and a half and are going to be now for the foreseeable future. We actually take a time out during the day to just walk out into the garden. And you know our garden, it's only tiny, but a couple of minutes out there every so often, just for a breather. You've got to do what works for you, but do prioritize yourself. As Willow Moon says, you've got to prioritize yourself. This one is Christine. I think our ancestor women used to gather together old and young, and I'm sure if we sat together in a big circle and talked about things, it would help us all. As I hope that this talking together will help some know they're not alone. Absolutely. As a child, my neighbours used to come and sit on the doorstep and talk about all the women problems with me as a child and mum too. Group therapy is amazing. We have lost our connection with women altogether. That's actually part of my summing up for today. I'll do it now. You are not alone. Really, really, you are not alone. And I am absolutely blessed, overwhelmed, and honoured that actually today was prompted because so many people felt that they could contact me and talk to me about it. So I am honoured that you would think I am worthy of that. I am here. The Kitchen Witch posse is here. Everyone that's on this chat here, we've all been supporting each other. Most of you guys have been with me for this past year and a half, for which I am truly thankful. We're all here for each other. And I think even if we can just do this kind of thing on a regular basis and talk and share, it helps. So yes, absolutely, Christine. Remember that you are never alone. I've jumped comments now. Nina, this is Nina. For me, even a 10-minute tea break can be so healing because you select your tea, green, black, mint, invite the specific magic of that brew in with every sip. Quick, simple, but intentional. I think the drinking, the making of a cup of tea in itself, yes, absolutely, absolutely. All my comments have jumped up in the air. Lani, I love my knitting. I am in awe of anyone that can knit. That's my me time. I do a small meditation session, just 5 or 10 minutes each evening, just before bed. Yes, found that helps me and helped me sleep. I do that too, Lani. Let's finding the names. Kay saying about music. I've done a talk about music in magic, but it does help you. I think music does. It really affects your mood and your emotions, and I think it's quite important. It is quite important. Definitely. Getting the name, make sure I don't miss the comments. That's Kay, I think. Yes, make sure I get the names right. Yeah, self-care. A lot of people say I haven't got time. It's the beginning point. It is the start of it all. Definitely. Maria, I want to start knitting as it will stop me skin picking my... Well, yuck. No, I know what you mean. So I'm only joking. Yes, my skin has been terrible with the menopause. Absolutely terrible. And I think it is a stress thing as well. But yes, that would be brilliant, wouldn't it? Because then your hands are doing something, knitting, crocheting, doing something with your hands the whole time so that you're not focusing or drawn to your face. Absolutely, Maria. There must be loads in our group here that would, teach you to knit. Definitely. Just whizzing down through the comments. Whizzing down through the comments. This is Nettie. Coming up for today until lockdown, I'd been attending Red Tent for many years, so helpful to sit in a circle in a group of women monthly. Yeah, I think the idea of coming together and sharing is a really good one, really good one. This is Erin. Blessings to all of you. I was worried the chat this morning might be triggering for me. Gosh, I hope it hasn't been. But you have all been so open and genuine and caring. It truly does feel like a safe and healing place. Bless you, Erin. I am so pleased that you feel like that. Absolutely. Gosh, no. Anybody that would have been scathing on it would have been kicked out, Erin. So you're all right. Yeah, we're in this together. We are in this together, and we have to support each other. Let's have a look at this. Sue says, it's so odd that women can sit and talk about anything, but men on the other hand seem completely incapable of doing this. I wouldn't be so sure, Sue. I wouldn't be so sure. I think when blokes get together, they do talk about stuff. We just don't know about it. Karen says, I try to play the Native American flute or drum most days. It helps to soothe my emotions. It's got to be whatever makes you happy. Drumming, I love drumming. So yes, that's really brilliant. Anything that actually helps you, just soothe you or, calm you down. Xenia says, sadly, the male education has caused that. It's toxic masculinity that causes men to think that talking about own feelings is weak and results in more men than women committing suicide. I hope this changes. I think it is changing too, Xenia. I think with people, particularly like the celebrities, as we mentioned earlier, coming out and talking about mental health issues. A lot of the male celebrities have started doing the same thing too. And hopefully that will really help. Hopefully. Lovely. Willow Moon, talking here is creating our magic. I love it, Willow Moon. Absolutely perfect. Thank you. Leslie, would love to learn how to knit socks. Okay, Jane, you've got to do a sock knitting class. Xenia says a red tent. Do you know, it's been something, it's not really my area, but it has become that with the menopause. We have at Kitchen Witch been talking about doing a regular red tent. So an online one, obviously, so everyone can join in. So do leave it with us. Do leave it with us. Kay says her husband is visually impaired, and with the veterans charity, it's a great place for them. I think that's it, isn't it? It's about men finding a place where they're comfortable to talk as well. We feel we've got to find a place that's comfortable for us. Men have to do the same. So my drum has COVID lockdown syndrome. It's gone all saggy. Let's get it back into shape. I know how it feels. My body feels like that, Sue. Definitely. Hello, Fairy D. Job has meant I've been able to join any of these, but also maybe now is the right time. Off work with anxiety, depression. Big hugs to you, my lovely. Umpteenth episode. But actually, I'm going through my dark night of the soul, and a huge transformation is happening. Really enjoyed listening. Bless you. Hopefully we have helped a little bit, and we haven't even got onto the magical stuff yet. Maria says, glad you yes, I'm streaming to my Facebook page, the Kitchen Witch Facebook group, and YouTube. So not everyone will see the comments coming up, which is why I'm being all techie and putting them on the screen. Oh, excellent. Jane says, go to the Bad Witches blog. That's Lucia Staza. Go to the Bad Witches blog and scroll down a few weeks. My sister's very simple pattern for socks is in there. I did see that come up. Excellent. Thank you for that, Jane. Actually, that brings me on. I am going to run over time today. So what the hell? It's good to talk. Getting support is helpful. If you're in a relationship, talk to your partner. Communication goes a whole heap of a way to getting them to understand what's going on. A parent, a sibling, a teacher, a mentor, a friend. There is always someone there. Myself, the Kitchen Witch gang, the Kitchen Witch Facebook group. There is always someone there that will listen to you. If you're really, really struggling, there are phone lines. I know we have the Samaritans in the UK. I'm sure there are other ones as well. There are support groups on social media sites as well. Reach out and communicate. Good morning, Emma. Taking control of your health. If it is your health that's causing the depression, that's the first place to start. You get pulled into a cycle. We all do it. We get pulled into the cycles, but the cycle can be broken. And that first step is self-care. Seek professional medical advice if that's what you need for your health first. If you have ailments, get them diagnosed properly and then work out your course of medication. That is a starting point. And then you need to do whatever you need to do to look after yourself in whatever way is needed. Rest when needed, exercise if you want to. I don't mean join a gym and build a six-pack. That ain't gonna happen. But just taking a stroll, taking a walk around the block. Change the way you eat if that's causing a few problems. I don't mean diet because I don't do that. But eat things that are perhaps a little bit more sensible, a little bit more healthy. Be mindful of the sources of your ingredients. Be mindful of what you're putting into your body. But for goodness sake, have a treat, because, you know, the world wouldn't be right without cake. If you need to crash out on the sofa, crash out on the sofa. It's about finding balance. It's about finding what works for you, everything in medication. Make it work for you. But do little things. If you love to have a bath, treat yourself to some nice bath salts or some oils to put into it. Scrubs if you like to have a shower. Bewitched Botanical do the most amazing body scrubs, and they smell divine, and that brings scent into it as well, because scent can trigger all those different emotions as well. If you've got a lovely shower scrub or a bath bomb, or essential oils to put in the bath, or even all of my soap in my house comes from Bewitched Botanicals. So having a shower in the morning and smelling those lovely scents can really perk you up. It can really, really make you feel good. And then just taking a little bit of time for yourself. Body lotion. I bet half of us don't even bother to put body lotion on. Take some time for yourself. Put some lovely smelling body lotion on. Pamper yourself, basically, even if it is buying your favorite soap or buying a little bit of perfume. Do these little things that can help you. Just missing, finding the names on here. Yes, chocolate through menopause. Chocolate through menopause is very, very necessary. Maria says more cakes needed. It always is, Maria. Always is. My phone's not catching up with the computer, so I can't see the names on these. Running keeps me sane. I notice when I haven't been out in the woods running for days, I get depressed and irritable. Yep, you're breaking your normal routine as well, aren't you? Something that does you good, that makes you feel good. If you don't do it, then you are going to be affected by it. Lani says, love Bewitched Botanicals, just placed an order. Yeah, that's fabulous stuff. Maria says, I want to eat some of those body scrubs. Yeah, don't. But I know what you mean. They smell amazing, don't they? Jane has just wound dozens of balls of wool into cakes using a fab little gizmo from Amazon. Not a calorie in sight, but very mindful. Repetitive action. Knitting, crocheting, very meditative, very soothing. Definitely. Emma says, I find a combination of medication, exercise and journaling help me. If I'm having a rough day, I just look after myself for the day, even if it's just washing and dressing. I think you've got an important point there, Emma. If all you manage to do that day is get out of bed, shower and dress, it's a result. Tiny, tiny baby step. I would mark that on my bad days, just getting out of bed and being upright was a result. So don't knock yourself if you don't do anything all day. If you've actually managed to get out of bed, then it's a winner. Yeah, definitely. You've got to count every little result as an absolute winner. Kay says, I watched TV Cook yesterday. She said, eating food as healthy-ish and just change some components. Yes, small changes. And I think that goes with everything. It's not just your food. It's the whole lifestyle. Tiny, tiny changes will make a difference. You do not have to get up one day and say, right, that's it, I'm changing everything. Tiny, tiny steps is the better way to do it. That way you will stick with it. Willow Moon says, when I'm low, I light incense, put on some witchy music, make a cup of tea and just absorb. Yes, we're back to sounds and scents and taste. Your senses and all of those will react to different smells, to different tastes, to different sounds. You've got to pick ones that make you feel happy. Definitely. That Jackie says, I have Jackie. This is Jackie. She runs Bewitched Botanicals. She is Bewitched Botanicals. I've taken time out just to lay here and listen to this live stream. Perfect. Thank you. I bless you for that. Jane says, sometimes I have a floppy day and just accept it. I have floopy days. We only have these sorts of days because we need them to recharge the batteries. Absolutely. You've got to take time out for yourself. And I am very well aware that I've talked for an hour now and haven't covered half the stuff I was going to do. So let's have a quick sum up. Depression comes in all forms and everyone deals with it differently. But there are magical things you can do. Affirmations. If affirmations are your thing, the regular positive statements that can change the way we think about ourselves and our situations, they can work. Color magic. Color for me plays an important part in my life, and I do notice that I don't own an awful lot of dark colours, but if I'm having a bad day, I do often realise that I've put dark colours on. So I think working with Colour Magic can help you feel more cheerful too. Christine says, you can't keep pouring from an empty jug. This is very true. You cannot be all things to everyone and still look after yourself. Yes. John says, little but often. Yep, your mum's very wise, John. It's Kay. The olfactory system, she knows, has a memory, and this is why smells play a key part in changing moods. Find smells that trigger happy times. Absolutely. This is smell, this is sound, this is taste. All of them can affect. We could do part 2 next week. We might. Now, Jane says, I wear black most of the time. If that's the color that you feel comfortable and confident in, then it's absolutely brilliant. I like brighter colors. They make me happy. If black makes you happy, go with black. Absolutely. This is a whole point of everybody being individual. Herbs. There are an awful lot of herbs you can use in magical spell workings that are uplifting, that can help ease depression. Foods as well, whether you eat them or whether you use them in your magic, will have the same thing. Herbal teas, we've kind of touched on. Herbal teas, a lot of those are brilliant for uplifting, lifting your mood. Incenses and oils, we have touched on slightly. They can stir up strong emotions. So you need to work with blends and oils that lift your own mood. You can buy them ready prepared, but I would encourage you to work with incense blends and essential oils yourself to mix around and see what works for you. Make your own individual, unique blend, definitely. Kay says, don't avoid positive affirmations because you don't believe them that day. Keep saying them daily and eventually, yes, affirmations work because you keep repeating them. Definitely. Senia says, tea doesn't judge, tea understands. It does, doesn't it? We're very British. Tea does understand. Maria says, orange and geranium mixed oils are very uplifting. Geranium's one of my favorites. That makes me feel happy the whole time. Exercise, if it works for you, do it. It does release endorphins. It does make your body feel better. But if it's not your thing, even just stretching or try yoga or just a walk around the block, something to get your body moving and to breathe in some fresh air. Crystals, obviously, they hold such power in tiny, easy to handle forms. They can be worked with in all sorts of ways to lift your mood and to ease depression. Meditation, we have mentioned as well. Even if it is just 5 or 10 minutes a day, just to give yourself some time out, grounding and centering will help you do that as well. Spells as well. There are spells. Work a spell that lifts your mood. Work a spell that releases the negative energy. Work it. You write it yourself. It'll be more personal, but it can be as simple as just a candle spell. A ritual doesn't have to be fancy or complicated. Find a deity, perhaps, or elements that you feel connected to that can help you move forward from the depression. And just writing and working the ritual will also help you as well. There is loads more information in the Curative Magic book on these. There is a ritual, there are spells, there are actual examples. We're witches, we're pagans. We have a magical toolkit from which to draw to help ourselves through this. But I think the most important thing is to remember, Sylvie says, so does cappuccino. Coffee, very, very, very uplifting. Even if you don't want to drink it, I would highly recommend using coffee in your magical workings, in your spells, because it brings that uplifting energy boost with it. Definitely. Christine says, thank you. Great talk. I hope it helps everyone. Yes, definitely. I do. And Xenia says chocolate. Again, you can eat chocolate to uplift your mood. But you can also work with it in your magical workings. I used cocoa powder or cocoa nibs in my spell workings. This is Kay. When making your own blend, yes. If you're making your own blends, I tend to use a little dish, or Kay suggested the lid, or even a piece of kitchen roll. Mix your blends, a few drops of each on there first. Don't mix the whole bottles together because you'll waste them. Yes, Jane says writing spells and rituals is mindful and empowering. Go for it. Absolutely. Hopefully that's given you some ideas and some support. You are not alone. Please do reach out to me or the Kitchen Witch group if you're struggling. If you have any ideas about what you do that's uplifting, that can help you ease things, please do post it in the Kitchen Witch Coven Facebook group. For me, it's about sharing. It's about knowing that other people are in the same situation, in a similar situation. We do need to talk about this stuff because talking helps. But we are witches and pagans. We have a magical toolkit. So don't forget, you have all of that available to you to help you deal with this. But do seek medical professional help because that will help you get you through it as well. Know that you don't have to struggle on your own. We're all here, and do watch out. We are looking at doing some more things online anyway as Kitchen Witch, but red tents have been mentioned, so it's definite possibility. We just need to fit it into the schedule. Yes, Willow Moon, thank you. Let's click the right one. Love to each and everyone here. Right back at you, Willow Moon, and to each and every one of you. You are not alone. We are witches. We're in this together. We are in this together. Absolutely. Thank you, Leslie, too. Yes, Leslie says, it is a fantastic group. I'm really, really blessed that you guys, we're all in this together. Let's support each other. Definitely, definitely. Thank you to everyone that's joined me this weekend. I will be back next week, obviously. Do check out the Kitchen Witch Coven events page. There are a few things coming up. We are starting to do a lot more things online. My Friday morning chats will continue. If you'd like me to talk about anything specific, do message me. Have a fantastic weekend, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. And just, you're not alone, guys. I'm here if you need me. Don't ever think that you can't contact me or any of the Kitchen Witch gang. We're here to support everyone. So big hugs to you all. Take care. Have a lovely weekend.